Welcome to the FBC Global Church Podcast. I'm Scott McManigle, one of the global missions pastors at FBC, and today I've got the privilege of introducing and interviewing some very good friends of ours from out in South Dakota. Many of you have already met Chris and Kylee Little from Lower Brule, and Elijah as well. Elijah's been at our church, and but we've got a couple others in the podcast today that you all haven't met yet. And so I thought I would just ask Chris to introduce everybody and yeah, let's get us rolling.
Well, got in the picture here. Hello. We got Elijah Walls with us. He's a pastor here at Hilltop as well. And my sister Katie, Standing Water. She's been with us for a few months, and she's been a part of I guess we put her on staff here. And then my son Jalen Little, he's a young 23-year-old, got a lot of questions, and we're working through knowing God with him as well. And then of course you guys know Kylee, my wife, and we're here, like he said, in the Lower Brule, South Dakota. So
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and what brought this the idea of this podcast on is Chris, you and I have been meeting every week and just talking about the church and the reservation there and people's lives, and you've just been sharing over the last number of weeks just how the teaching of the Knowing God lessons has been impacting your all's lives first and foremost, and is also beginning to impact other people's lives in the community. And so I guess before we get talking about those testimonies, why don't you all tell us a little bit about what you're doing there in the community, how you're involved, either in the church, any role that you have in the church, as well as anything that you're doing in the community, just where God has you plugged in out there.
I guess I'll start, and we'll go with Elijah, and then to the right here. I pastor here at Hilltop, and we want to share the gospel, and that's first and foremost. But I also work for the tribe here in Lower Brule as the manager of their construction company. So I have an opportunity to mentor the men that come through that program, and my job title is beyond being the manager. Been asked to teach these men a trade. So in all that, I recognize the opportunity to become a mentor and be more than an overseer or a boss or a supervisor, but well, just really embracing the shepherd role. So that's what I love about being able to work here as well. So sometimes you get frustrated with being bivocational, but then when you step back and look at it, you realize that there's a lot of benefits that we have here.
Yeah, so started off here, of course, pastoring the church along with Chris, and then initially I was working out of town off the reservation, but finally was able to find a job here on the reservation a few months later, initially working at the bank that's here. That was a good way to kind of start to build some relationships besides just being in the church with people. And then a year later, I got offered a position working for the tribe's counseling service. And so I've been working there since August. I got hired as a case coordinator, is technically my position, but it was with the understanding and of me pursuing and going after my license as an addictions counselor. And so I function more in that role right now than I do as a case coordinator, really. And that mostly has me working with adults and adolescents. That can be through, whether that's the court system, if they get referred that way, or even the school itself. And so I actually do quite a bit of work with the school now. There's at least one day a week that I'm down there most of the day, and it's been really amazing just to see what door God has opened up there as far as, I mean, being able to kind of get to know some of these kids, I get surprised when I'm down there every week now, how many of them already know who I am. So that's been pretty cool to see. And, and just getting to know them, I grew up pretty similar to the lives that they have. And so I know it's been helpful for them to have someone, I think, probably to talk to that just understands it and also, is not still in that same cycle, but is doing something different. And so it's been really cool just to see what God continues to do there.
And the tribe knows you're a Christian?
Yes. Yeah.
So are you allowed to, like, as you meet with teens down at school and that kind of stuff, are you allowed to talk about God at all, or how's that work?
Yeah. No, they don't have a problem with that. Actually, just got done inviting some boys to the family camp that we're doing in North Dakota. 3 of them, they said they want to go. So
Wow. Oh, praise the Lord. That's awesome. Okay, Katie.
Hey, I don't know. I've been praying for guidance, direction, and then God brought me here. After Falls Creek, I came here and I joined the mission team. Went with Chris to Montana with the Builders for Christ, and then I helped in the kitchen, and I helped them do some painting. And then now I'm working in the pantry, and I got an opportunity to go to a discipleship training, and that brought me out of my comfort zone to start praying with the people that come through pantry. Not just, here you go, have a nice day. And ask them if they want a prayer. And then I'll be cooking for the camp, and then Falls Creek, I'll be in the kitchen again.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris was telling me a week or so ago about your involvement with the pantry and just the blessing you've been and the way that you are just genuinely building relationships with people. And
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you, like Chris and Elijah, are from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You're not originally from there in Lower Brule. So how has your transition from Oklahoma to Lower Brule, how has that gone?
I've gotten more into Bible study.
Uh-huh.
Like I did the knowing God. I finished it, and that's different. I didn't really do any Bible study in Oklahoma. I've fully surrendered to God since I've been here. And I don't know, I guess that's different.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right, Jalen, what are you up to there? How are you involved? What do you do every day? How are you involved in the church and all that?
Yeah, so I've been working with my dad as far as taking over on remodels, and I get to do my 2 cents as far as electrical, but it's been good. I mean, I get to travel here and there throughout the community as far as troubleshooting. But as far as outreach, I'm still trying to engage in my age group, I guess. And in order to do that, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row as far as breaking down scripture. I joined my dad and Elijah since I moved back with Knowing God on Wednesday nights. And that's really helped me in my walk as far as knowing how to share the word with my friends or people that I'm with every day. It's been good so far. I mean, it helps me understand and mature just a little bit more about how to go about asking God for certain things, revealing things to me, making it His will, not mine. And definitely out of my comfort zone, but it's the steps that need to be taken. And I'm trying to be more active with my like I said, I'm trying to engage the guys that I'm with every day, and just trying to lead by example first and foremost before I try to be a fisher of men, as they call it.
Right.
But I'm active in the church as far as upkeep and Sunday teachings. But there's still plenty to learn, and I'm just grateful that I'm here and that I'm walking with these guys.
That's awesome. As a 23-year-old that, you value being there and being a part of the church and working with your dad and trying to be a role model for the other younger people, that are there in the reservation, and to just the model that I would think that you are in that community would be just a huge asset to the church and a real addition to what Chris and Elijah are trying to do there.
Right. And talking with these guys that are actually here helping us with church work,
Yeah.
sprung my interest. I think I might want to partake in more outreach programs like mission trips. We did a Builders for Christ in the past, and that was a great experience getting to go across country and not only work for the church, but getting to have fellowship at night, talk about how you can go about the walk, what there is to learn.
Yeah.
So that really got my interest.
That's awesome. Well, that's great. And last but not least, Kylee.
I am the director of the Boys and Girls Club here. And I've been there since September. We have 2 sites. So we have like the little kids 6 to 12, and then we have the 13 up until they graduate high school. So with the little kids, I've invited a couple of them to camp. And now I have a list. I had to make a cutoff because I can't afford to bring them all. And every time I see them, they ask me, when are we going? Where is it at? How far is it? What are we gonna do? I wish we
Wow.
could do it tomorrow. They're really excited. A lot of the things that I'm doing, I guess, isn't really in the church here. It's down there, but more of it is with my family and one of my friends. And just as I learn, they learn by, when they have questions or just like going through something in their life, I can hear the differences in how they talk and what they would say or how they think about something. I don't know if it's because I'm there or I don't know. It's really good, to talk to my brother who, all he did was drink, and he's talking about, he's a Christian now, and about want to cry when you hear him talking about it. And
Wow.
this is whole life has changed.
Wow.
And he'll sit there and talk with me for a while. I'll go and sit with him at work, and it's just really good conversation. And I don't know, just really happy to hear everything. And then the kids, they were asking, well, what's camp for? What are we gonna do? And I'm like, well, it's church camp. And I thought, oh, they're gonna run. They don't want to go. And they start telling me how many Bibles they have at home.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, and I have a pastor down there working with me, and we're gonna start doing a Bible study with them because that's what they want.
That's awesome.
It's not pushing anything on them.
Yeah.
There's another a teacher at the school, which is right next to us. She does Bible study with 4th and 5th graders on Wednesdays, and those kids don't come to the club on Wednesday because they want to go to Bible study.
Wow.
And you see them standing at her door waiting for it to open so they can go and do Bible study.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really good.
And so again, you've got a position there, a local government position with the tribe. And so, like Elijah, are you allowed to talk about God and do Bible studies with the kids? And
I had to ask that question because I didn't want to do it and get in trouble. So I have a director of development. He's not my boss in any way, but he's my go-to person. And I talked with him about it, and he said, well, coming from a reservation, that's not really something that you want to bring to the table because of everything that happened in the past. And I said, so technically I can do it then. And he said, yeah, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. I said, okay. That's all I need.
Yeah. That's awesome. So in talking with Chris over the last few weeks, he was saying that with all of you, as you've been going through the knowing God lessons, that it's really impacted your lives and changed your view of God, your view of, the Christian life. And so maybe whoever would like to share, maybe if you could just share a little bit about that, just, what had been your view of God and your view of Christianity before beginning to study through the knowing God lessons, and what's your view now? What has changed? How has it changed?
Mine, growing up, I always thought that kids were innocent. I didn't know that we were evil from birth
Yeah.
until salvation. And the relationship, I always knew that God was everywhere and that He could see everything.
Yeah.
But I like the way that the studies went. Like whenever I don't know how it connects, like the stories with, what is it, Rebecca? The servant going to find Rebecca.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How that, kind of linked it together with the Holy Spirit and
Mhm.
I don't know, just the way that it linked stuff together, it really opened my eyes.
Mhm.
Um,
How do you view him now?
how I view God now.
Yeah.
Um, just more of him wanting that relationship and,
Mm.
my sins have already been forgiven.
Mm.
I don't have to, I don't know, do something special to be forgiven.
Mm.
That he's already paid that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't talk much or I'll start crying. I'm a crybaby. I don't know
So,
why.
so would you say, you're resting more in grace?
I think so. I
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I learned through that,
Yeah.
through the studies.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I
Yeah,
can,
Jalen.
I can start by saying, well, I grew up in the church before moving here, and you learn a lot of the stories through Children's Church as far as his promise to us, engaging in the walk. I know he was a God who knew everything, and his hand was extended to anyone that would listen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just I knew going to church, engaging in the Word, doing I used to read the Our Daily Bread,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to figure out how to go about witnessing to my peers and try to be a better individual and a better Christian as far as trying to show just I guess shown through my work, shown through my actions that you take his hand and you abide by what he's promised. I mean, everything's gonna work out.
Mm.
And talking with my dad about how powerful he really is, how big he is, can impact your life.
Mm.
Being all knowing and all omniscient, I guess is the word. Um, as far as seeing how God is now, like what I learned about him. Um, it's more so I was going in the right direction. He I'm just not kidding.
The lessons that we've been going through, how do you view God now than opposed to when you was growing up in church?
I guess being more um, open to his grace and his it's been I would say more so man, I'm lost. Just more understanding of why his promise bringing his son
Mm-hmm.
and his salvation, knowing that the world would be against you and there's no shame and
Mm.
picking up your cross. That was my biggest issue moving here,
Mm.
especially with influence and just turning away because you want to walk a certain way in life. And I'm starting to accept certain things as far as those around me, but I also want to be a testament that it's not the end of the world if you just take those steps. I mean, you got to start walking before you can applying yourself to your peers. That way, they'll want to follow in your shoes. Really, follow him to the cross. I'm by no means the pedestal Jesus is,
Mm-hmm.
but every day I'm trying to find that maturity and put aside that fear of public speaking and yeah, just being the mentor I didn't have when I was growing up in the church. I'm trying to be more of a like I said testimony that hey, everything's gonna be all right if you just pick up your cross and trust in him because his promises never fall short. So that's what I'm trying to stand on.
Hey Scott, can I ask him a question?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Jalen, can you talk about what moving here did to you and your faith, moving to the reservation from the Bible Belt of the South and in Arkansas?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing moving here, especially trying to find my friend group, was I mean, the image was look at the guys who moved here to the church, and I was just curious how high school life would go. And right off the bat, it was kind of shaming as far as, so you believe in God? And I was like, I absolutely. And it was a bunch of, I guess, portraying to the past, wondering what they were saying, stuff like what kind of God allows these bad things to happen, and just right away trying to test my faith. But walk still learning about the word. I didn't have the answers right away for them.
Mhm.
But essentially it made me feel cornered. I was really cornered with what was being brought to me.
Hmm.
In the end, I knew that I couldn't persuade anybody's values or opinions on what I believed in. I could only show by my actions. But moving here really made me want to learn and want to seek more. So I had
Hmm.
those answers to give them. And I lost a good amount of friends along the way as far as that's not what they partake in.
Mhm.
But I just kept going with it. We started a youth group on Wednesdays. I mean, having fellowship with those guys really surprised me because we started out with 2 or 3 people. Fast forward a year, we had at least 10, 11. And it was eye opening because I was like, for my hard headed peers, it's like they actually wanted to learn.
Huh.
But like I said, I'm still trying to mature. I'm still trying to find out how to be a fisher of men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. Kylie, Elijah.
I can go and go and go. I'm gonna go for a long time. I'm just kidding. So apparently we all grew up in church. Actually, I only went to church with my family until maybe not quite, maybe a teenager, maybe young, 11, 12. I don't remember, but
Mhm.
did I learn anything? Maybe. Do I remember it? No.
Mhm.
You know, what I did learn was, just be good, don't do bad things.
Yeah.
And even as like a young adult, that's what I thought.
Hmm.
You just, do good things and good things will happen to you. That's where I learned that. I don't really even know. And I still hear people saying that today.
Mhm.
But one thing is, my faith getting stronger and seeing what that does for other people. And
Hmm.
I'm not trying to do anything. If they have questions, I answer honestly.
Mhm.
Um, I do get blunt sometimes, and I learn that's not good. So I'm working on it, but sometimes I think it's necessary, and I might hurt feelings, but it's not on purpose. If I feel like that's what I'm supposed to say, then I do. And I have lost people because of it, but I learned that, the whole seasons thing and people aren't in your life, but for so long sometimes,
Hmm.
with all these lessons. But, talking with my coworkers and my family, like I have my sister calls me all the time, one of my sisters, and she has questions and she'll say, hey, I'm gonna tell you the story, but I can't talk to anybody else about it because they're gonna think I'm crazy.
Mm.
And it's something that happened, and it was a God thing.
Mhm.
And she knows it was a God thing, but she doesn't want anyone to think she's crazy because how could that be?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. So she calls me all the time, and just being able to learn and understand more that it's not do good, get good. Um, when I first heard about having this relationship with God, I'm like, well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work?
Mm.
I can't see him. He's not here.
Mm.
Like, it's not like my relationship with anybody here. So it didn't make sense to me for a long time.
Mm.
And the more, I guess maybe I heard other people ask questions or talk about it, it started to make sense. And I guess my eyes open a little bit more every day. And I don't know, I feel really good being able to go from, who is God? What has he ever done for me?
Mm.
Because you do look at like, well, if all these bad things happen and is God even real, to
Yeah.
where I am now, like, yeah, absolutely he is. That is a God thing. You can feel it. Sometimes you can't explain it. You just know.
Right.
So I feel like from being a little kid to now, I was probably like 25 different people in that, with these phases
Mhm.
that I went through to where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a process. What were you saying, Chris?
I was going to ask her how the lessons of knowing God, and she's not just done them with us; she's done them with, I believe, Annette. She loves the way Annette teaches it. Jessica, they were doing a Zoom lessons, as well as with us. So I was just asking, what about her view from those lessons? What has changed for her, or what maybe what is something that you've learned that you didn't quite know or hear of before the lessons?
Like even your perspective of God, like your view of God, like what he's like, what's important to him. Like has that any of that changed at all?
Um, yeah, all of it. Um, it's like going from 0 to 10, on a what do I know and what I don't know scale.
Mhm.
I don't know that like all of it was new.
Mm.
Uh, Hearing, God is love. Well, what does that mean?
Mm.
Then you get to talking about it, and at first, all of it is really, I don't know, kind of want to brush it off like, yeah, right, no. But then you keep going and you read more and you hear people talk about it more, you talk with other people about it, and you just feel more, I don't know, understanding of who he is.
Mm.
And, hearing the answer to why does he allow bad things to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And it's not, him making things happen, these bad things happen. He's
Right.
allowing them. That was a big thing. Was, knowing that he allows things to happen was probably good and bad, I guess, for me.
Mm.
But it's a little more I don't know, calming my life, I guess, in a way that I see things and feel things and even hear things or allow things to bother me or not bother me. It's like not that big of a deal like it would have been even last year, 2 years ago.
Mm.
Like, well, I can't do anything about it, so we'll leave it to God. And you truly leave it to God, and you're like, okay, and you move on.
Yeah.
So that's how it changed things for me, I guess.
Uh-huh. So a greater ability to trust God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Elijah?
Well, I've talked on here before. By the way, I did not grow up in the church. But yeah, anyways, I mean, I've told my testimony on here before, so
Right.
some of you guys are familiar with that, so I won't try to go into any of that too much. But having gone through seminary, I was in seminary for 5 years and did a lot of studying there, and met you guys about halfway through that. Probably I think within my third year, which is when I met Chris too. Um, I was it was pretty amazing to see already what God had done in my life and what He had revealed about Himself to me, whether that been through people or through the Bible. One of the things I always talk about, which is really just kind of huge in my testimony, is I used to be very angry at God, especially in my teenage years. I mean, growing up in the Bible Belt, I knew about Jesus. I heard about all that stuff. I think maybe even I know for sure saw Passion of the Christ when I was probably like 9 or 10, and it was just I thought it was interesting. But my family we didn't really go to church or do any of that stuff. It was always kind of vague when it came to God. And so when I did hear the gospel at 16 for the first time, really, and like understand what a little bit about that was, of accepting Jesus and getting saved from your sin and stuff, and which I thought was great. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome, yeah, and He loves me and all this stuff. Okay, sign me up. And I believe I got saved at a very simplistic understanding of faith, and I know that's all it takes. But because of my misunderstanding of not really knowing who God was, and having all these different ideas thrown at me, and it was, you hear different things. Some people tell you, it's all about the Ten Commandments, and you have to be a Christian, you follow that, or to be a person who follows after Jesus is just to be a good person, and so those were kind of my ideas that I had, and so life was already pretty rough for me growing up, with my parents and just all the things I had to go through, and so naturally, when things continued to go bad for me, it had me with a lot of questions. Why is this doesn't seem like a very loving God to me?
Mm.
Everyone would always tell me, "Oh, well, God's like your father, and God loves you." And it's like, well, my parents aren't here. Life is tough. I think I'm more cursed than anything else. He must not like me
Yeah.
very much.
Right.
And so I just, and that was all due to a misunderstanding that I had of who God was
Mm.
and what he was like and what he was really about. And then even as I got into seminary later on in life, I came to know more about God, him revealing to me that he really did love me.
Mm.
And that love was displayed on the cross through Jesus and everything. But even in seminary, continuing, it's a continual growth process. I think a lot of times, I know especially where I grew up, we kind of get this idea. It's like, oh, you accept Jesus and you get saved, and then it's like, transformation happens overnight.
Right.
Which, don't get me wrong, some things like that can happen. I mean, when I, chose to, when God did that for me that night, I didn't drink again after that night. So some things like that do happen.
Yeah.
But my understanding and relationship with God was, which started at 16, was still growing. It was, still happening, him revealing himself.
Yeah.
And so I think as I got to the knowing God lessons and looking at those with you and Jim, and even still to this day, it just continues to remind me of one, who God is, how he really is. He's always been who he is,
Yeah.
from the very beginning, and even before that, before the foundation of the world, and just like others have been saying here, with him being in control of everything, and some of those things I understood already, but to come to a greater knowledge and understanding of that he really is, you know, um, someone entirely different than what we've ever known, or anything that's like us, because I think we always get a picture of, God's just a bigger version of us sometimes, but God is very different, and yet at the same time, just so much better, and really beyond. I mean, he's beyond anything we could ever comprehend. Yet he brings things down to a way that we can understand, and a way that we can relate to him, and then ultimately through Jesus. Uh, but I just continue to grow in that grace and knowledge, growing in that rest of, I never know what's going to happen. Especially, I try to make plans. I think we all do. Try to do this, try to do that, but just learning that I really can trust him. I really can rest in him because he is good.
Mm.
I always think of Job, and always love the ending of Job, and how he kind of ends with, the conversation in a sense between him and God at the end. And, he says, I spoke of things I didn't understand. And, basically God revealed these things to me. And, essentially I've always heard about him, but now I know him. I've seen him with my own eyes. And I think it's just a continuous journey of that. And I just continue to get amazed, honestly. It's kind of funny, I spent that 5 years in seminary, which someone, while I was in seminary, referred to it as a prison sentence, which I thought was funny at the time. But I don't know. It's been, when you spend that amount of time studying, and it's nothing but Bible classes and Hebrew and Greek and all this stuff. Which I'm not downplaying seminary. I learned a lot there.
Yeah.
But they give you that piece of paper at the end, and it's like, well, I guess I don't have to do that anymore, right? Like I know everything I need to know. I don't need to study more. But just like in these knowing God lessons, you see God, like with Abraham and Moses, just continue to reveal himself to each of those guys continuously. Even though they've learned so much already, hey, here's something else to see about me. Here's something else to know. That way you can trust me even more. And so that's really the way it continues to go for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, very good. So Chris and Kylie, we've had family camp 2 years now, and you guys have brought 20 or more people from your church, from your community there. Have you seen an impact from the time at camp for anybody? And like, I don't know, any of the adults, any of the kids, have you seen any impact that, you know, is God's bringing about in people's lives from being involved in camp?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Nieces and nephews that have attended with us, they're understanding. So, you know, prior to being introduced to you and this knowing God study, I was asking God, how are we going to reach these folks? How are we going to? I've never encountered anybody that was absolutely rejecting. So how I know how I met him. I know what he done for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to um, share him in a classroom setting. And that's what I was presented with. This is how you do it. This is the structure of church. This is the way it needs to be done. And I was just really looking for, what's the right study? What's the right, way? And I was absolutely wrong. I should have stuck to what he done for me instead of trying to live up to others' expectations. So I didn't know how to. I couldn't do it because I can't love the way that Jesus loves, and that's what changed me when Jesus showed up and introduced himself to me and showed me, this is love. That changed my whole life. I had no idea how to share it. So fast forward, the Lord continued to suggest that I start from the beginning. There was I believe a few messengers came my way, repeated that same message, start from the beginning. And then of course we met you when, fast forward a couple of years later, I can enjoy the simple fact that God answered my prayers. How do I do it? Where do I start? How is this going to work? So I simply didn't beat around the bush. Every Sunday we're going to do a lesson in knowing God. So we went a whole year on Sundays doing a lesson in knowing God. There was no light show, no production, no incentive except let's learn to know God together. And the impact, not only in myself, like Elijah said, it's just a huge reminder of who He is. And that's all I want to share with people. This is who He is. We don't have to do anything like Kylie said. That was our upbringing. Our upbringing was go to church, look at these 10 commandments and follow them.
And what happens if you don't?
And if you don't, you go you go to hell. If you do, you get blessed. And so that's what we were pursuing. Trying to stay out of hell and bless me, Lord. Bless me. Continue to bless me. Get me out of every situation that I'm in. And if I do good, I receive a blessing. And that was absolutely incorrect. And I love it that we can do this now. That we can walk alongside everyone we love. And God, even with Kylie's family, he scolded me. He said, "Listen, you are looking past the people I brought to you, and that's who you share the message with. Those that I have brought to you. And here we are, thinking that we need to fill the church when he did it again with my own family at a barbecue. They all wanted to have a barbecue because we came down to visit and they wanted to be by us, and we're sitting there and everybody's having a great time, and he says preach. And I said, no, not here, not now. I'm supposed to preach tomorrow. I have an engagement at the church to preach to the congregation. And he said, but I want you to preach here now. and I didn't do it.
Mm.
And the next day, as I got up to preach to the congregation, the simple question of why didn't you preach?
Mm.
They were right there. You could have shared the word of God with them, and they would have listened.
Mm.
You would have had an opportunity, and you did not take it.
Mm.
And that's, you know, those are the wonderful things and great reminders of His grace, because it wasn't, okay, you didn't do it, now you're in trouble.
Right.
It was, you're still my son and I love you.
Yeah. Right.
And from here on, we're to trust each other. we're in a relationship. It's not, do my will or else. It's
Yeah.
let's walk in this together and learn in this together. And we're not keeping merits.
Yeah. Right.
And so
Right.
as far as our own kids, they're witnessing that it's genuine, that it's not, nothing hidden, nothing
Right.
fake.
Right.
God is who He is, and He loves us, and He continues to walk with us as we grow.
Yeah.
And,
Amen.
and to answer your question, yeah, the nieces and nephews are seeing it right along with us,
Hmm.
and enjoying it, and knowing that, right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So they're witnessing others, other adults and other teachers, and they're coming back and they're saying, is that true? Am I really, bad, or a terrible sinner? And am I really going to hell? And we have to come alongside them and say, this is who God is.
Yeah.
And so it's hurtful to know that there's teachings out there that send us backwards
Mm-hmm.
instead
Yeah.
of helping us understand who He truly is. And that's why I asked these guys, hey, will you do a podcast with me? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here witnessing the difference in their knowledge of who I thought God was to, wow, yeah. Because once we realize, well, like Jalen said, he's omniscient. He's all powerful. He's everywhere. He's all knowing.
Yeah.
The reverence for God isn't that of, getting the understanding of what fearing God truly is.
Mm.
And it's not a, I'm scared of you, God. It's a, oh yeah, you're that powerful, and you're my Father.
Yeah.
And you stand for me. So if I have you, what can come against me?
Yeah.
And so, and none of these guys touched on it, but I believe I could say something that they would agree to.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing God helped the reassurance of, oh yeah, He created all things. So I don't need to fear Satan like I used to.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about what he's up to, because my Father's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I think we all came into agreement that we forgot to realize that our culture truly is that of the animist culture.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
So we grew up worried about spirits and whatever you want to call it, bad luck,
Right.
superstition,
Right.
and we are truly walking in grace now. We are truly set free, opposed to the way we grew up in church.
Yeah.
So
So through the years that you guys have been there and been ministering there, how many people would you say, different individuals, that you have invited to come to church? More than 100?
yeah, in the years that I've been here,
Yeah.
I would say 90% of the reservation. There might be 10% that I have not truly engaged in.
So then, and then of all those people that you've invited to come to church, how many came to church?
I believe everybody I invited came to church.
Oh, really?
One time or another, yes.
But didn't keep coming.
No, they came to church. It might have been one time, but
So what of all the people, like of all the excuses that you have heard from people for, either not wanting to be a Christian or not wanting to go to church, what would you say is the number one reason that people give?
I guess the number one reason is this is not our religion. Meaning there's a Native American religion
Right.
that is theirs that they embrace. So I hate to say it because of the way it's worded, but it's white man's religion,
Right.
and there's even a lot of confusion of there is a God,
Mhm.
but there is no Jesus. Jesus is the white man's religion, and so that's very painful to hear and know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and when you learn about the history of the way that the church hundreds of years ago tried to reach the Native Americans, it was done as a white man's religion. Where they were trying to make them into white men in order to become Christians. And so they're not totally wrong, by saying that. When the answer I thought you were going to give was, I'm not good enough to go to church. I'm too sinful to go to church. I need to clean up my life before I can go to church.
that's true.
There's been that.
There is a lot of that, but that's not the number one.
Yeah. And to me, that comes from, always being presented with a distorted gospel that, it's your works, it's your, you got to get to where you're sinning less and obeying more for God to forgive you. And so they're taught to try and be good instead of rest in the blood of Christ that pays for all of their sin.
That's absolutely true here and now.
Yeah.
With many teachings and many of different congregations that is still alive and well. If we was to take a survey, which I think we probably should, the value of the Ten Commandments is utmost important to the grandmas as they tell their children, this is what needs to happen for you in order for you to obtain heaven. You have to follow these rules, and yes.
Wow.
There's beyond that. Yes, many people tell me. I'll give you one example. A young man wanted to come to church, and he was waiting on his taxes. And he kept telling me, I'm getting my taxes. I'm going to get my taxes. I said, and then I'll come to church. And I said, well, why do you have to wait for your taxes to come in for you to come to church? And he said, I don't have anything to wear.
Wow.
So his perception was you have to dress nice to come to church.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think we can all say, we probably heard it. I need to get right. I need to sober up. I need
I
to.
was gonna say that was me. I was like, I have to quit smoking.
Uh-huh.
I gotta go, yeah, I gotta clean myself up before I could go to church.
Mm.
When reality that happened after I went to church, or I started my relationship with God, I fully surrendered. And he's the only reason that I did.
Yeah.
It was all him, not me, because I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah. And then it becomes, a desire to clean up your life because he loves you and you love him, not because you think you're going to gain anything from him, but because he already loves you. He already accepts you.
Yeah.
Because the blood of Christ has already paid for all of your sin.
Amen.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's so much misunderstanding, whether that be from, it's just, that thought of religion too, as opposed to, this is a personal relationship with God. This is God being intimate, and is present with us and things. That's been my experience as I continue to talk to people. Even when I was still working at the bank, one of my coworkers down there, she's in her 30s, but she'd never even heard of who Adam and Eve were. Like,
Wow.
she never heard about the beginning. She didn't even know why Jesus came. All she knew was, Jesus, he died on the cross. And I think she went to some type of boarding school or something when she was younger too. So, but you could see, I got to tell her quite a bit and to explain a lot to her. And it was pretty amazing to see how interested she was in a lot of it. And then even now, down at the high school, I was talking to a kid down there. They're like 14 or 15. And, I bring up, so in the work that I do, this isn't even related to just me and my focus and things, but it's part of my job that I have to do too. Is part of the section you have to talk about is spirituality.
Mhm.
with them to figure out what they get comfort from or what kind of activity they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of the teenagers I talk to down there, I mean, don't even know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
I'll bring it up and they're like, what's that? I don't know what that is. And so then start to talk about that more. And some of them know, like I said, this one kid surprised me. They knew a Bible verse, and it was interesting. The one that they brought up, this person said, "I think about it a lot, and it kind of scares me." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And the person was reading the verse about, many will come to me in that day and say, "I did this and did that for you,
Mhm.
but I never knew you."
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, this person had a lot of fear about that, which, I mean, it can be fearful in the sense, but
Sure. Yeah.
if not, if you know God for who he really is, though, and not
Mhm.
if he's revealed himself as he's revealed himself. And so
Yeah.
I think just like we've all talked about within our own lives, you know, we've had misunderstandings and we've had misconceptions or not known who God was or what he was really about. But um, I definitely just see the people that I've been able to talk to and that God's opened the door to start relationships with
Yeah.
real opportunity to be able to talk about that and to say, I wish I even think about my grandparents. Chris said white man's religion. That's what my grandpa used to say all the time. Even when I was going to church later on, he'd say that to me every time I got home. How is white man's religion today? And even the Bible, he'd be like, men wrote the Bible to control other men.
Right. Right.
And I don't know. There was so much vagueness, when I used to talk to him about God, and it was always super vague. And I'm like, we believed in praying and stuff, but it's like,
Yeah.
but then you have the Bible, you have these knowing God lessons, and it's so much more. It's like, but he's revealed himself, like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's telling us his name. Like he showed us who he is and what he's like. It's not just
Yeah.
something that we're hoping for.
Amen. Yeah. So just kind of in closing, as we are gearing up for our third year of family camp, on the behalf of FBC, I just really want to convey to you guys that we really value our partnership and just the blessing and the opportunity that God has given us as a church to partner with you all and the other First Nations churches. We're only there at camp with everybody who comes for 4 days out of a year. And so, none of us think that, in 4 days, we're going to lead anybody to maturity, or, some of these kids and some of these people that are coming out of, a train wreck of family life, maybe very abusive situations or addictions, no hope, impoverished, maybe some of them, many of them. Just, really, as far as life goes, not a whole lot that they have that gives them a lot of hope. But for us, what we, as we have our meetings to prepare, like our team to come out there, I mean, one of the things that we keep sharing over and over with them is, in 4 days, we can't change anybody's family life. We can't change their socioeconomic status. We can't change their economy. We can't change their circumstances back home, but we can change their view of God. And, our hope is that in 4 days, we could give, I don't know, 1 kid, 2 kids, 15 kids, 50 kids, a new view of God, a new view of the heart of God, that, that they could go home in this new view, this new perspective of God's heart for them and God's love for them would give them hope, throughout the year. Even though their circumstances don't change, just God's heart for them and the things that God promises that he has in store for his children. Regardless of what our lives are like in this earth, regardless of what our lives are like, where we live and the families that we're a part of, one day we're going to enter his presence in the new heavens and the new earth and be set free from it all. And that's where our hope is. And that's where we're, trying to give them that hope. And so, our hope is that, everybody goes home from camp with such a new view of God and the heart of God for them, that it draws them to you. I mean, you're the ones then that are there with them throughout the year. It's you guys are there living in their community, and our hope is that they come home from camp so excited about God and the heart of God that it actually draws them to you, for you all to continue to disciple them and expand their view of God and all the things that He has in store for them. And so, even though we only get to spend 4 days with those that come, we're just really, really thankful that we get to partner with you all, and in this effort to, I don't know, help people fall in love with God. To me, there could be no greater calling. Not leading somebody to Christ, not teaching somebody to obey, not helping somebody overcome their addictions, but to actually so proclaim the greatness of God that they can't help but fall in love with God. Like, I don't think there could be a greater calling.
Yeah.
Anyway, we love you guys and really appreciate all that you're doing, and we're praying for you and really looking forward to being together at camp.
Well, we appreciate FBC and the relationship that we've been blessed to have over the years. And so we're doing a renovation in the church, and it's geared to do exactly that. Give the folks a view of God that will help them grow. And it's definitely needed, because we can't be with everybody all the time. And so if we can, like you said, have them go home with a different view of who God is, we couldn't ask for anything better than that. So
Amen.
we appreciate you. We appreciate the opportunity to come and share a little bit about what we have here and what we're looking forward to. And we appreciate the prayers. We ask that those prayers continue to come in, to help us and to help those that are in need, those that come seeking, because that's what they come seeking. Where's the hope? Where's your hope? So
Yeah, I know. I've definitely been thankful for you guys and what God has done through all of these relationships. I mean, if you guys don't hold that conference in Tulsa, me and Chris probably don't even meet. So maybe, I don't know. We're both in and out of Oklahoma quite a bit, so maybe we'd run into each other still. But yeah.
And we white guys at that conference, we were scratching our heads because we thought you guys acted like you've known each other forever. Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah. Well, want to thank our listeners for tuning in, and really hope this, not only this podcast, but all the different episodes are just a real blessing and encouragement to you all. Our heart is to, through all these podcasts, is to share just some of the great things and testimony stories that God is doing in people's lives around the world, and just giving us as a body the privilege and blessing to be a part of it. And so as the Littles and Elijah and Katie and Jalen come to mind there in Lower Brule and the church, and we'd appreciate you all to just continue to lift them up in prayer, and Lord willing, we will catch you in the next episode.